What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am finally home, back here in the shop from a long 2 weeks on the road. As you know, we drove the Porsche 924S almost 2,000 miles from here in Chattanooga to Phoenix, Arizona to deliver it to the giveaway winner, Aoife Malone. And then immediately flew from Phoenix to Vegas for SEMA, which was another 5-day full-blown circus. Have so much more to talk about with you guys about that. A lot more to unpack in the upcoming episodes as we get more into some new projects and also some ongoing projects. But today we are working on the 700. We just got back yesterday and immediately I need to get on this thing. If you remember back a handful of episodes ago, I took this to Pigeon Forge for rod run and something snapped in the bell housing. Had something to do with the clutch fork, maybe throw-out bearing. I don't know yet. I want to take this to Daytona rod run in just a week and a half. So I got to pull the motor, got to open up that bell housing and find out what happened with the clutch. I'm hoping it's just a throw-out bearing that failed so I can order one and get a new one in ASAP. I basically only have next week before we leave. So it is crunch time on this thing. I'm going to get this over in the lift bay, pull the motor, and hopefully from there it'll be immediately obvious what happened in there and I can order parts and we can get this thing fixed. The clutch cable is still good. The arm still moves. That has range of motion. So basically from the pedal to the clutch arm, everything's moving as it should. Maybe the clutch fork broke. I don't know, but we're going to get in there and find out today. Also, my good friend Andy Crew from the United Kingdom is in town. He's literally going to be here in about 10 minutes. This was all last second. I knew he was coming for at least a couple days after we got home from SEMA. Didn't realize it was today. Didn't know it was this morning. I had it running yesterday, so... All right, well, Andy's here, and came in from a long flight from Hawaii to LA to Atlanta, bus ride up to Chattanooga, but he's here for, the next couple of days hanging out, and he's fallen right into the insanity of trying to get so much done here in the shop. I'm going to start unhooking everything in the engine bay and drop this thing out the bottom, and we'll get a look inside that transmission as to what the culprit was. So fingers crossed. It's just a throw-out bearing, at worst, maybe a clutch fork. Something I can order and have here in the next few days. That is best case scenario. All right, well, we've got almost everything unhooked. One left. I've got a starter solenoid trigger, basically, that comes through a hole in the shroud that's going to come out with the motor. So since that's an eyelet in here to a little... Oh, wait, no, it's not. Wait. Oh, my goodness gracious. It is. I literally thought, we just put this thing up in the air because I thought I remember it being an eyelet with a little screw and I couldn't quite get to it, but it's not. While it's in the air and got that starter solenoid wire unhooked, I'm gonna take the bottom 2 of 4 motor mounts off. Since it's up here in the air already, I won't have to crawl under it. Forgot about that. Don't know if I've taken this off with the exhaust on. Forgot all about the exhaust, so we're unhooking the exhaust now. All I gotta do is get it to slip away from these J-pipes. I think we got it. The maze of pipe. All right, well, the exhaust is out. Forgot all about that. There's not enough room to pull the motor back to get it off the shaft. Even Andy was like, well, there's no room to get that thing out, huh? And I'm like, yeah, it's tight. And then we couldn't pull it back anymore. And then we realized, tin has to come out, like the bottom apron and the exhaust. This is all part of filming. You're thinking 3 steps ahead and you forget the steps right in front of you. So Apron's off, exhaust is out. She's ready to come out. But it's lunchtime. We just ordered pizza. So we're gonna go get pizza and we'll pull this motor out after we eat lunch. All right, well, we grabbed pizza from the local spot right at the end of the street. So now that we've eaten, we're gonna pull this motor out. I remember it being tight. I don't remember it being like that tight. Oh, you know what? Shroud was off and the alternator wasn't on.
Yes, it's just that. Not that.
Yep. I thought like, I won't take all this stuff off.
Pull that dent out.
Yeah, pull that back a little bit. Oh, darn it. All right, now we'll put it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Good? Yeah, you good?
So we got the motor out, as you guys can see. Before we actually got the motor completely free, we were able to get a look inside there and see what happened. And we've yet to know exactly what happened, but look, I'll get in there. Let me get in here. All right. Welcome to the engine bay. So as you can see here, the throw-out bearing literally came off the fork. Like it was literally just sitting just like that. I wonder, and it got real gritty before it blew up. Way to look at this. Yeah, it's been wearing, but it's not wearing any grooves into the fingers. Where were those on the floor?
In the bottom of the bell housing.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Yep, those are the retainer clips, aren't they?
You can see the print they've left.
Oh yeah. Maybe the clips just broke? This thing still spins okay. All right, so we figured out what's going on. And if you guys are air-cooled Volkswagen guys, you were screaming at your devices or TV while we were scratching our heads about what was going on. Now, for those of you who don't know, you'll see the pressure plate fingers here, right? And the throw-out bearing that was in my transmission has a riding surface right here, right? So this surface here was pushing against the fingers of the pressure plate, and that's what's worn these shiny parts here, these like actual wear marks. This transmission is a single port transmission. Now, there might be a name for these transmissions, I don't know. All I know is the motor made it to this transmission originally was a 1500 single port motor. This is a dual port 1600 out of a thing, relatively around the same era. This was 69, I believe. This would be early 70s-ish. Now, one of you, and I'm going to read this comment, the episode at Turkey Rod Run where this broke and I had no idea what happened, someone knew exactly what happened, and it was Mike T3509. And this is what I love about the internet, and I love about people like you guys who are sympathetic or empathetic to people like me who are doing some of this stuff for the first time, and you don't go too hard on me, and you just help give me advice, and it helps these things go so much smoother, and it helps motivate me to learn more and not be discouraged because you all yell at me. Mike T3509 said, I hope you have found this out already, but in case you haven't, we have now. Your breakdown was due to a mismatch in the car's release bearing in the 1600 dual port pressure plate. The 1600 dual port engine you installed had a pressure plate that needs a guided release bearing. The guide is a tube that the bearing slides on, keeping the bearing centered, which this transmission does not have. The transaxle on your 700 has a non-guided release bearing and requires a pressure plate with a center ring for the release bearing to press against. The clutch pressure plate on the 1500 single port that you took out has just such a center ring and is the one that matches your transaxle on the 700, which would be right about here. Like there's nothing there, it's just fingers, right? And this is where we had a question now, because Andy and I are both, we're entry-level air-cooled Volkswagen guys. We've worked on some stuff, but, haven't seen it all. This was our next question, and Mike answered it here. Simply swap the pressure plates with the one on the 1500 that you took out, fix whatever damage may be to the clutch cross shaft and the throw-out bearing, and you'll be back in business with matching parts. Nothing's broke. Like, even the retainer clips are symmetrical to each other. So nothing seems to be broken on that. Nothing seems to be broken or destroyed on the throw-out bearing. Clutch fork in the transmission seems to be okay. And this seems to be okay, other than some wear marks. So let us show you. Andy and I literally just brought the 1500 out here to my shed to get it out because I needed that jack. We walked out here and turned the motor around, and wouldn't you know it, there's that surface that the throwout bearing's supposed to ride against at the end of the fingers here. And luckily, we have it right here. So although I don't have an alignment tool, we're gonna pull this pressure plate out since this motor needs a full rebuild. And I'm pretty sure this pressure plate and clutch was put in when my dad and I were building the car originally a few years ago. So we're gonna take this off. We're gonna mate this to the dual port 1600 motor that's going back in the 700. Do our best to line it up easily, which I think will be no problem. And the throwout bearing doesn't seem like it's broke, so we might just try to put that back on the clutch fork and see if it holds okay. Doesn't look like anything's broke. So I think, literally guys, I think all we need to do is put this pressure plate and clutch on the 1600 and we're literally back in business. We might actually even drive this car tonight or tomorrow, which would be really cool because it's Andy's first time here. And we didn't take the Corvair to get pizza. We took the OBS. Fingers crossed that's all we needed to do and nothing's broke. And we literally have the parts laying around here to get this thing back running again. Without an alignment tool, it's going to be a pain in the balls. That almost looks bang on. Let me see if I can. It looks like it might be. Oh, there we go. I got a little bit. Okay, now it's obvious. That's looking pretty center, man. I wonder if we just do that. Okay, let's hope that's centered. You know, like with the Sawzall, when the blade, you're like running on the tip of the blade, and when it gets out and kicks, I'm like, please don't bend the blade. Now, it won't be a nice smooth radius, but it'll give me some clearance, and I'll be able to fix it later on. Yep, that's all the way in.
Yeah, that's all the way in.
Yep. So as you can see, I just trimmed around that clutch lever. Since at full throw, it was touching the firewall, the 700. At some point, I'll get in here and just make this stuff look all nicer. But that gave us clearance for full throw of the lever. Everything seems to be, the clutch fork is moving as it should. So I think we're almost ready to put this thing back in and hope that we aligned the clutch disc centered of the pressure plate and we can get that shaft of the transmission in. So that's our next step. And figure out the throwout bearing too. We got to figure that out. Make sure that'll be next. We'll get that on. Make sure that seems to be mounted properly. And hopefully it was just a matter of the amount of tension or force on that throwout bearing without that riding ring. So hopefully without that being in there, it just forced that thing out. Maybe. Doesn't look like anything's broke. So we'll get it remounted and see how it sits in there. Yeah, it spins nicely.
Yeah, seems brand new.
I know. One's in. So you guys can see here, the throwout bearing just kind of pivots in the fork slots, and these little retainer springs hold it in. The clips on the other throwout bearing on the other pan are also loose like this, so it leads me to believe that this might be okay. Assuming we've got that pressure plate pretty much centered on that motor and can center it on this shaft, I think we might be ready to reinstall and put the motor back in. Yep. That's gonna come back to you now. Yeah. There. Okay. There we go. Let me go up. Is that it? No way! No way!
What is that?
Oh man!
Bolts through.
Bolts through? Oh my gosh! This is gonna be the hardest part. No, it's not. No way! Look at that. By hand. All right, well, I can't believe how easily that motor slid in there by just eyeballing the clutch disc without an alignment tool in there. Yeah, we just kind of eyeballed it and it slid in, no problems. Now we're in the process of putting the motor back together. Just got the exhaust on, have to finish tightening all that down. That's always a pain in the butt with how much little space there is and how intricate that exhaust system is. Fingers crossed this thing will not make loud noises inside the transmission and move forward and backwards without problem. All right, so it's the moment of truth. We got it down on its wheels. Everything's hooked up, including the battery. Yeah, like I said, I haven't had it running in a while, but this thing normally runs like a sewing machine. Normally it runs real well. So we will start her up. What do you think? Think we're good?
We'll be good, yeah.
I like it. All right, guys, here we go. Let us see. Pedal feels like it did before. All right, here we go, guys. Come on. We might have fixed this. I think we literally just fixed this today. Like, we tore it apart, found the problem, didn't break anything, just put other parts in, put the throw-up bearing back together with the little clips that were just hanging out in the bottom of the trans case. And now we're like... That's crazy. All right, so we're driving it. I mean, so far, so good. So stoked to be driving this thing. All right, guys, well, it's the next day and still buzzing that we were able to take this thing for a drive last night. I mean, it's shifting perfectly. It really is. Clutch feels amazing. Engagement is amazing. Clutch throw is good. Having the motor out and everything apart and putting it all back together, everything seems to be working as it should as well. I think we're going to take this to go get coffee. That's basically dragging on the rockers when you're moving it around. We'll air it up a little bit when you drive it because it'll just be a complete nuisance driving it just bodied out on the ground. All right, so test drive number 2 in the daylight. You fit okay in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's spacious enough.
6'1"?
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Just about.
Yep. right, so what's your thought on the 700?
It's kind of crazy. It's not. I'm used to small cars, being from the UK, so like it does feel small, but I'm used to this sort of like seating position being snug.
Right.
Even in like a modern hatchback in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the size of it when you stood next to it is surreal.
Yeah,
being
yeah.
in it, like obviously we're sat in the back seats, so it's quite roomy.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. We're not shoulder to shoulder. I've been in like some cars that you're shoulder to shoulder, like some old MGs and stuff.
Right.
You're literally like touching legs when you're changing gear.
Yep.
It's actually quite nice, and yeah, it's quick.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's going to be it for this episode. I mean, I'm still over the moon that, you know, Andy showed up after 24 hours worth of traveling, and I basically met him with apology, being like, sorry, man, like, I'm in the middle of this. Like, I know you're tired. You can sleep if you want. And he said, nope, I'm in.
Shower. Get back to it.
You work the night shift at a machine shop anyway.
Yeah, yes. This was nothing.
Yeah. So super grateful to have him here in general, but also to give me a hand on pulling the motor out. So this is a really cool episode for me because Andy's here, but also because we were able to tear the thing apart and put it back together and drive it in literally one day. Like, we drove it last night. So this was a beginning to end one day episode. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed just hanging out together and pulling a car apart. This is what it's all about, though. I really enjoy hanging out with my friends from different countries and working on cars together. It wasn't but a few months ago we were hanging out with Andy in England at Players Classic. Make sure to follow Andy on Instagram, and you got to check out his Commer he's building. This like really cool cab over motorhome. He's in the process of like building that thing right now. Thank you so much for watching, and huge thanks to Andy for being here and hanging out. Yeah, that's it. I'm not a YouTuber. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys are well. We'll see you in the next episode.